All righty. Also, I should say we are going to be recording this session. So just FYI, keep that in mind. Yep, and it already looks like we're having some students join us. Awesome. Well, welcome. We're going to wait just another minute or two here, let everyone kind of come on into the room and get settled before we officially get started. But to those of you who are already joining us, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you learn everything and anything you want to know about pre-med, pre-veterinarian sciences, pre-pharmacy, whatever it is that you might be interested in. Again, we're going to wait just another minute or two here, make sure we have all of our students, have all of our attendees, and then we'll go ahead and get started. While we're waiting, I'll go ahead and kind of introduce myself, and I'll probably do it again later, but my name is Christian Burnett. I am one of the Assistant Deans of Admission in the admission office, and I'm joined today by several members of our William and Mary community, and I'll let them introduce themselves in just a bit. But please grab a glass of water, grab a snack. We'll get started in just a minute. And today's session is going to be a lot of Q&A. So if you have any thoughts, concerns, questions, whatever it might be, please feel free to start dropping those down in that Q&A box down below, and I'll be moderating that and looking through there during today's session. Awesome. It looks like we're already getting a good group of students here. And honestly, I think just for the sake of time, we might actually go ahead and start with introductions just so that we can make sure that we meet everyone's questions and get everything, what's the word I'm looking for, get everything addressed during today's panel. But with that being said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Scher, and she will introduce herself and our lovely students today.
Okay, so hi everybody, I can't see. I'm Professor Beverly Scher. I'm in the chemistry department, and in addition to teaching here, I'm also the person who advises the pre-meds, the pre-veterinary students, the pre-pharmacy students, and the pre-dental students. And I've brought two students with me today because I know that the student perspective is really interesting to a lot of you too. So Alondra, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi. My name is Alondra. I am the current Vice President of Minorities in Medicine. I am the rising President of Minorities in Medicine. I am a junior right now. I am a neuroscience major. I went through a lot of deliberating, deciding what I want to do with my life. I started like with pre-med, I went into PA, and it's still always a work in progress, but I use MIMS as sort of an outlet to help others kind of go through that process that I went through because wasn't sure what I was going to do. So MIMS means a whole lot to me. I hope that it'll mean a lot to you, perhaps when you get on campus. But yeah, that's about me.
Okay, and Spencer, your turn.
Hi everybody, I'm Spencer. I'm the current president of Health Careers Club here at William & Mary. I'm a senior kinesiology and health science major. I'm kind of the same way as Alondra. I originally started off as pre-pharmacy. I actually went to University of South Carolina and transferred to William & Mary. Fun story, but after exploring pharmacy, I realized medicine was kind of what I wanted to, the path I wanted to choose in life. So I kind of switched over to pre-med and from shadowing doctors and everything. But yeah, that's my story.
And what are you doing now, Spencer? It's actually important.
Yes, so I actually graduated a semester early. And just because of COVID and everything. Actually, I was planning to do it before. But right now I'm a medical scribe at Sentara Williamsburg, which is close to here, and a medical assistant at a local ENT office.
Those of you who are wondering about clinical experience, Spencer's a really good person to talk to. So to get started, I'm just going to share my screen, and with luck, this will work. Yes, I can. Okay. So what I'm showing you actually is my website. And if you're interested in reading about all things pre-health at William & Mary, this is the place to start. And I'm not going to put the URL in the chat because I know you guys all know how to use Google. So you know that you are on the right place in the right place where it says Health Professions Advising Bev Scher's homepage. It's the way it's set up, it's basic. But what you can see is that there's some information in general about pre-med things. My email address is here, and please feel free to send me an email if you have questions. I field them from incoming students all the time. And I also have a listserv, which is the way to get timely information pretty much through your entire pre-med journey here. So as soon as you have a William and Mary email account, you can set this up. And so just putting in a plug for it now. What we're going to do next is go to the handouts page, because the handouts page is going to be another useful place for you. So here it is. Notice that I'm not trusting my browser to do this. I made a PDF. So it says handouts, cleverly enough. There's some handouts that are of particular interest to incoming students. So the top one is the letter to prospective students and their families, which contains things like statistics on what fraction of William and Mary applicants get into medical school. All of the statistics that I release are in that letter, actually. And there's also something entitled Fall 2020 Information Sheet for New Students. This is the thing that I put up during orientation last fall. And it's still pretty current. So if you're looking forward to which courses should I take, what should I do at William and Mary, it's a nice one-page summary. But then there are nice long handouts on pretty much everything we do. So what to do and when to do it gives you the timeline. And I want you to read the Pre-Med Mentor Program handout. It talks about the Health Careers Club Pre-Med Mentor Program. So it's older students mentoring younger ones. MIMS actually has this program. I don't have a handout up because they haven't given it to me. But Alondra, you could fix that if you wanted to. But one of the things that we try to do is find as many ways as possible to support our incoming and ongoing students here. Alondra talked about how supportive MIMS is. And I think William and Mary is a community and we're here to help each other. So I'm going to turn this off, stop sharing it, and I'm going to turn over the questions to Christian because he is going to be our moderator here. So Christian, all yours.
Thank you. And with that being said, if you all have any questions or concerns about anything pre-med or many different disciplines of medicine or health related industries or interests, please go ahead and start putting those questions down below in that Q&A box. Make sure you're using the Q&A box and not the chat box. If you use the chat box, we won't see it. So please use that Q&A and that will kind of be our guide for the session. While you all start thinking of some questions and start thinking about what you might be looking to know, I'll kind of ask Dr. Scher if you can explain maybe a little bit about what it means to be an advising program and versus what it would be if it was a more kind of track-based opportunity.
Okay, yeah, that's actually important. So at William and Mary, we don't have a pre-med program that you apply for. Okay, at some schools you have to apply to the pre-med program. Some schools even have minimum GPAs. We have had a pre-med program for about 50 years, and it was actually set up by someone who is a current professor at William and Mary. So Professor Randy Coleman in the chemistry department set it up. And he's actually giving a seminar in chemistry tomorrow talking about his current research interests. He's still very active. But what Randy thought was that anyone who thought they were a pre-med should be a pre-med. So you don't register as a pre-med. If you think you're a pre-med, you are one, and your next job is to come find me. And so the way advising works here is that students make one-on-one appointments with me, and I basically spend my day in 30-minute appointments when I'm not in class. And it's lovely. I get to meet people all the way from people at your stage, incoming students. I talk with alumni too, because that they want to be doctors after they turn 30. And William and Mary, as Randy says, comes with a lifetime guarantee. We are still here to help you. So, alumni reach back to us and we help out. Other things that pre-meds would do at William and Mary to get help, go through the experience. Obviously, we have these two nice organizations, so Minorities in Medicine, which is still pretty new. We're so excited to have it. And then Health Careers Club, which actually Professor Coleman started back about 50 years ago as the overall health professions group on campus. For those of you who are interested in veterinary medicine, we actually have the Pre-Vet Club, and pre-veterinary students get together and share advice and information and bring in speakers and go on field trips to various places of veterinary interest. So there's a very strong, tight-knit group of pre-vets. There's also the William and Mary Pre-Dental Society, which is the pre-dental students. And again, student run, I advise it. I work with pre-vets and pre-dental students, but the support is a student run group. Sadly, there's nothing like that for pre-pharmacy students, so they just have to come talk to me. But they also come to Health Careers Club. Other things about pre-med. So pre-meds have to do a lot of things during their time at William and Mary. The medical schools have prerequisite courses that you have to take and you have to do well in. So in no particular order, it's really 2 semesters of introductory biology with lab, plus 1 more that I recommend, a cell biology course, 2 semesters of physics with lab, 5 semesters of chemistry, 4 with lab, 2 semesters of English, a couple of semesters of math, sociology, psychology. You can see that the list is really long. And we didn't make those requirements, the medical schools did. Those requirements also support you as you get ready for the MCAT, because the material taught in those courses is on the exam. So I have a handout on my website that is called Pre-Med Course Selection, and it goes through the lists of the courses and the reasons that you actually have to take them. So there are the courses. Other things that are important for medical school. Clinical experience is essential. You will not get into medical school without significant clinical experience. So shadowing physicians is really important. Volunteering in clinical settings. Spencer epitomizes clinical experience. He has a job as a scribe. He also has another job as a medical assistant. You know, half-time work as a scribe is something that William and Mary students have been doing for a long time, because Sentara Williamsburg Hospital had the 2nd scribe program in the United States, and they staffed it with half-time William and Mary students for a really long time. So basically, there are clinical opportunities in the Williamsburg area. We facilitate shadowing through the Career Center, so that piece of it is covered. And then the other big piece is extracurriculars. If you take a look at the AAMC website, what you'll see is that there's a list of competencies that every incoming medical student needs to be able to demonstrate. Some of them are obvious. Scientific competency might be undergraduate research, which we do well here. It might be high MCAT scores in the sciences. But a lot of them are related to leadership and teamwork and communication skills, because doctors are teachers, leaders, team members, and as an undergraduate, you're going to do things that are going to allow you to demonstrate that you have those competencies. So complicated, right? But the good news is that we send lots of great med students to the medical schools across the country every year. So it really is a doable proposition.
Thank you. That was a great kind of overall introduction to pre-med life and pre-health life at William and Mary. And actually following up that, we have a whole list of questions here already. And speaking more about that clinical experience, either Spencer or Alondra, maybe if you could elaborate a little bit more about how you went about securing that internship or securing that experience, and how you went about navigating those options.
I can speak to a little bit. So I started scribing back in June. So kind of went about that was just, I think it was sometime in the spring, like March or April. I just kind of sent out my resume. They had like an application you could send at any time. So I just sent that out and said, when you have an opening, please let me know. They said, we're not, and they kind of messaged me back and said, we're not hiring now, but we'll let you know. And then about a month or 2 later, they messaged me back saying, are you still interested? And I said, of course. And so I got an interview there and had an interview, got hired. So on Dr. Shear's page, there's the Williamsburg Scribe email. So if you want to get involved in that, that is where to contact, because that's what they'll do the hiring through. But for that program specifically, you have to be a sophomore to start. And then for Half Meridian T, they hire a lot of students as well as medical assistants. But I started like a month and a half ago now. And how I found that position was just through, they had a gap year panel with a couple jobs, some in Nova, I think one in Williamsburg, one in Newport News, I think they were there, and they said they were hiring. So I just sent my resume and they asked if you wanted to start. So I started there about a month and a half ago. So just through William Mary, the outlets they provide, it's kind of how I found those.
Yeah, I should mention that the Gap Year panel was actually run by the Cohen Career Center, and they're a really great partner. They bring in people to talk. They have a job board. They have Dawn Snyder, who answers questions and also does mock interviews for medical school. So they're a really great partner.
A little bit more about those clinical experiences. Someone asked, would volunteering as an EMT count as a clinical experience
Yes,
opportunity?
absolutely. And we have a lot of students who actually are EMT certified, and there are at least 3 local rescue squads that take student volunteers. So there's the Williamsburg Rescue Squad, which is actually walking distance from campus. There's James City County, which is a drive from campus. And then I've had people volunteer in New Kent County, which is actually surprisingly close to William and Mary. So if you're persistent, you'll find something. They like people with experience, particularly in Williamsburg. And in Williamsburg, they also like younger EMTs because those folks will stay for a long time. So I've been told that if you're a junior, go ask James City County. But I got my COVID vaccine 2 weeks ago, my first dose, from a James City County paramedic. And the computer system went down right as he was about to give me my shot. So I got to talk to him about how wonderful it was that my students could volunteer with him. And he said, we are so glad to have them because we're often shorthanded and the volunteers really make a difference. And what he said was, tell them that I will show them anything. They just have to ask. And I thought, oh, I just love being in Williamsburg.
So, and following up on all of that a little bit more, and specifically for younger students, someone asks, how do pre-meds participate in research without much experience? So maybe if one of the students wants to talk about what—
So is anybody doing research? Alondra? Ha, good.
Oh, both of them, awesome.
I'd love to talk about this. Research is like my baby right now. So I got involved in research when I was a freshman. My second semester freshman year, I decided to get into research. I wanted a jump start. I came in with a lot of those. I was like, I'm pre-med. I'm going to do my classes, do my exams. I don't need to focus on research. It's not important. And then I kind of started taking these like informative classes and seeing the research people were doing, like the professors themselves, the research they were showing us. Even in your first like semester, people will show you research that's happening. You'll see it going on as you walk through ISC. And I was like, man, I feel like I want an impact in a way that I guess I can do right now. Because a lot of the time it's going to be a lot harder to maybe try and get like that clinical research or that clinical experience as a freshman. So I went up and started talking to advisors, and the first step is the hardest part. It's really easy to come in as a freshman and feel like you can't talk to professors about anything. We kind of hold them on this pedestal, but I think at the time, like I didn't realize that professors are probably the most willing to help freshmen and talk to them about anything. And so it was really that first step, sending that email to that professor whose class I took. And I said, like, what do you do research in? And can you tell me more about your research? Can we set up a meeting to talk about research? And then I loved what they were doing. I said, I want to help. Can I help? Like, how can I help? And sometimes it'll be hard. Like you might have to take a class or two. They're like, maybe you need to take this class. And other times it'll be like, oh yeah, we don't have space, but I keep your name on a list. And when I have space, I'll let you in my lab. And then you go through training and all that sort of thing, depending on what you're doing. So I think that it's really impactful. And like Dr. Scher was kind of alluding to, medical schools will look for research and say, oh, that student has done research, which it indicates a lot of things. Like a student will be able to work on a team. They may have extra, writing abilities, stuff like that. And so really I think the biggest thing that keeps people out is their own inhibitions about, I don't think I know enough to do this. When in reality, I didn't know very much. And now I'm being trained on like how to do injections. I work with animals, but I'm getting trained to do injections in my lab. And that's really cool. When back in the day, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about anything really. So I would say release your inhibitions, not to sound like that song, but release your inhibitions and make the jump, take the first step, meet that professor, stay after the class maybe one day and just talk to them casually as you're leaving. And that will create the opportunity for you to do research.
And should mention that you don't have to do research in the sciences. the medical schools are happy to see you do research in things like religious studies or government or you name it, social sciences. It's really about the intellectual curiosity and about the willingness to kind of take that step into the unknown and see if you can produce new knowledge. Spencer, what did you do?
Yeah, I kind of similar story to Alondra. So I actually, my Colin Hart professor, Professor Luf Wilson, in her lab. So the story goes that I was in her class. I loved what she was teaching. It was actually like nutrition, which isn't what she does. But I was being told like try research, at least try it. So what I did was just looked up professors in my department, kinesiology, and saw what seemed interesting. And so what actually was really interesting to me was what Professor Luf Wilson did. So towards the end of the semester, I asked her, it's like, hey, do you have any opens? I'm really interested in your research lab. Would you mind, is there any openings where I can get in? And like just then she had an opening. So I got lucky. And so the next semester she trained me. And so throughout the rest of the time, I was getting trained in more things. By the end, I was doing it's called vessel isolation. So you would have you extract vessels from different mice, and you put it under the microscope, working really microscopic things. And I never saw myself doing that, but it really pushed myself to beyond what I was kind of comfortable with, and something I really enjoyed. So definitely recommend trying research, even if no matter what department. You never know.
Yeah, should also mention that it's Research Month at William and Mary. And so we have it showcased. There's a central website that you can go to that is basically the starting point, but really and truly go see what the students are doing. I think undergraduate research is one of our great strengths. Students get good, and that's not always true everywhere.
Definitely. And just kind of a general statistic for everyone, about 80% of William and Mary students do some kind of research before they graduate. And that's not just, if you are thinking pre-med, that's not just in the physical sciences, that's happening across all disciplines, regardless of what you might be interested in or what your side passion might be. And while we're kind of speaking about research, someone asked, are students getting published in terms of?
Yes. Yes. If you're doing research in somebody's lab, the whole point is publication, right? Because the scientific process isn't done until you've published your results and shared them with the world. So yeah, students publish, they go to conferences, they do poster sessions, they get the full experience.
Definitely. And I feel.
Can I add on something real quick?
Oh, yeah, go for it,
About
Spencer.
publications, I know some students I know some students in the past who actually they graduated and then had numbers and had then working on a certain project, and they got published after graduation.
Yeah,
So
it's publication when the research is ready.
Yeah,
and that's not uncommon for undergrads. That happened to me too.
Awesome. And kind of while we're talking more about some of the introductory, and we were talking about getting involved without experience. So specifically for incoming students, we're getting a couple questions here about what is that advising program like before you declare your major or before you declare pre-med? Maybe
I can take that one.
After you've been admitted, what's that advising process start to look like?
Right. So basically advising starts pretty much the minute you get admitted. So you can always email people and ask questions. As I said, I've been fielding email from incoming students for at least the last month. And I'm happy to do it. It's a chance to meet these nice new people. If you have questions about specific departments, often the person to email would be the department chairman. And you can find who that person is just by looking at that department's website. That person will be listed as the department chair, and they're happy to answer your questions. For neuroscience, there's some main advisors. So Professor Christy Porter is listed as the main neuroscience advisor. And you can, again, find that information on the William and Mary website. Over the summer, you're actually going to be doing some registration before you even come to William and Mary. Not for all of your courses, but we're going to be doing this starting in July. And you're going to have the option of having a peer advisor. So these are upperclassmen who are trained by the Academic Advising Office and help students work through the summer Blackboard site all about William and Mary things. And, they help you build a fake 4-year plan. This is what I think I'm going to take, not knowing anything about myself or William and Mary. But it's getting used to what the resources are, and your peer advisors are great. When you get here, you're going to have an OA, an orientation aide, who knows a lot. Your RA from the dorms is going to know a lot. They can help out in both formal and informal ways. And then the Monday before classes start is lovingly known by those of us advising Monday. So this is when the incoming students all meet with their pre-major advisor. So you'll be assigned to somebody on the faculty who does pre-major advising. And I actually do that because I love working with new freshmen. And so you'll have half an hour to an hour, depending on the person, to talk about what you want to do with your life and the courses you want to take. And they'll have ideas about things you should take and things you should try. And they're the beginning of the friendly face of the faculty. In terms of unofficial advice, pretty much every professor you take a class with could be an advisor for you. People find all kinds of mentors as they go through. And often the people who teach your introductory call courses, call 150s, call 100s, these nice small courses where you get to know the professor. Somebody who runs your research lab is going to be advisor. When you declare a major, you're going to acquire a major advisor. And you can actually sort of pick that person. Not everybody does major advising, but again, picking somebody who you think would be a good person to talk with, you're going to do. So lots of advising along the way. You just have to ask.
And that's actually a great point. So at William and Mary, you won't declare your major until the second semester, roughly the second semester of your sophomore.
39 credits. You have to have at
Exactly.
least 39 credits completed. And the reason we do this actually is that often when students come in, they think they're going to major in one thing. And then their mind changes as they take that first set of courses. And so it's really very common for people to say, well, I thought I was going to be a biology major, but now I'm really sure that kinesiology is right for me. Or, maybe it's government or religious studies or something. And so we're going to give you the freedom to come in undeclared so you don't have to walk it back. Okay. I think it's good not to declare right away.
Definitely. And while we're talking about majors, Spencer and Alondra, do you mind sharing your majors and minors and any other programs you might be involved in?
Okay, I'll go. So I am a neuroscience major, and like Dr. Sher was talking about, I did not start out that way. I was a bio major through and through, and then I thought about maybe psychology, and then I thought, why don't I put bio and psychology together? And that's how I got to the neuro major. Neuroscience is not a department; it's a program. So it's a little bit different in that way, but you have a lot of the same, resources and help that you would in a department. As far as minor, I'm still considering what I want to do. I kind of right now am between biochem, chem, or bio. Those are kind of what I'm trying to think about. I started off with a math minor. That was a lot. So it's all about, where you're going. I think the one thing about minors is that you have time to do them, especially as you get towards the end of your tenure at William and Mary, and then you can start thinking about them more. I know that something else that I will just mention really quickly is that there are a lot of people who do double major, and that's because the amount of credits that you can get per major, I think it's like I think you said like 33 to 39,
35 to 40.
around there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So some people do decide to double major. That's a lot with pre-med, but it's possible. And that is a thing that you can do as well instead of major minoring.
Should mention that the med schools don't care. Okay, don't do it for them. They don't care what you major in. They don't care what you minor in. They don't care if it was a double major. They don't care if you have a minor at all. You really should be choosing for yourself. Choose by interest. Now, the one thing I should probably say is that if you're looking at the most popular pre-med majors, Alondra's in the most popular pre-med major. Neuroscience, year after year, is the one at the top. It's closely followed by biology. Okay, so when I wrote my 120 letters for med school last summer, it was roughly 40 neuroscience majors, about 35 bio majors. Chemistry was in the 10 to 15 range. Kinesiology was similar. And kinesiology often people double major with because kinesiology doesn't have quite as many credits in it. And then it just kind of went across the spectrum. I had about 6 psychology majors. I had a CAMS major. I had somebody who was majoring, I want to say in French. So choosing by interest is okay, but of course you still have to take those pre-med courses. So if you major in something like economics, you're going to be very, very close to the requirements for a biochemistry minor if you take the pre-med courses. I think it's 2 courses beyond the courses required for chemistry. So if you want to go ahead and take advanced biochemistry and molecular genetics and have that minor, fantastic, do it for yourself. So Spencer, I interrupted you. What did you major in and
No
why?
Yeah. So I kind of went in, kinesiology was kind of my first interest. So I went into in my first semester to a couple classes in the kinesiology department and realized the subject matter I really liked, and especially what made me kind of go to the kinesiology department was how much I liked the professors there. So that's wasn't too much of a bouncing back and forth, but I'm also a biochemistry minor. And so, yeah, it was a little easier, especially with pre-med. Pre-med courses, there's like 1 or 2 additional courses you had to take, Molex-Cell, and then I just took advanced biochemistry. So yeah, that's my major story.
So the last kind of introductory or maybe kind of early years question that we are getting is regarding AP credits, and when those come in, what can those count towards?
Okay.
And those types of things. So does
Yeah.
anyone want to talk
So
about that?
I'm happy to take that one. So the first thing I'm going to say is go read my pre-med course selection handout because I talk about AP in detail. So most medical schools in the United States will take AP credits. So if we gave you credit for, 2 semesters of physics, you can go with that. That's all right. All of the schools in Virginia will take it. Schools that don't, just coming to mind, Boston University doesn't, St. Louis University doesn't, Vanderbilt doesn't, some of the UC system schools don't. So think about the home state you're from, because that may affect what we do about this AP credit or IB credit, same thing. Similarly, if we're looking at dual enrollment credit, you might want to have a conversation with your advisor about whether you want to keep it. So biology department routinely recommends that students who have dual enrollment biology credit coming in renounce it and take the intro courses, because the intro courses are a step up in terms of difficulty, and it's really good preparation for the next level up in biology. So basically, for physics, I would take a good look at how strong your physics understanding is. For math, keep the credit, the AP or IB. For English, keep the credit. It's really useful. For chemistry, if you have a 4 or a 5 on the AP exam, yes, you get credit. We will also encourage you to take a course called Chem 205, which is Advanced Freshman Chemistry. And that actually stands in for Gen Chem 2. So it's a nice introduction, and it also saves you some time later. Other great things. Biology is the one where it's actually something where, okay, we're going to not give you credit for AP. We're going to give you exemptions from the courses plus some elective credit. But the biology department has advised, ever since I've been advising at William & Mary, that you not use those exemptions, that you go ahead and take the intro courses because they're hard. Okay, they're good preparation for the next level up. Exemptions could hurt you. So we're going to encourage you not to do that. For psychology, you get exemptions from some of the intro courses, which is fine. So, it depends on what you have AP for, but in general, for most pre-med things, you'll want to keep it.
Thank you. And actually, you touched on another question that was in the Q&A, the advantages or disadvantages of Chem 103 versus Chem 205.
So if you got a 4 or a 5 on the AP exam, that says that you know a lot of chemistry, and Chem 205 was designed for you. Basically, that's as far as I want to go, but I think talking to the person who teaches Chem 205 might be helpful as well. But I see no reason to back up and take Chem 103.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're getting a slew of questions about study abroad in pre-med, what those opportunities might look like, or if that's an opportunity for pre-med students.
So I'm going to say some basic stuff first about it. And Alondra or Spencer, did either of you study abroad? Okay, so they can't help. So study abroad is absolutely possible for pre-meds, despite these two. And often my pre-meds study abroad during the summer because it doesn't interfere with the pre-med courses. And there are wonderful, wonderful programs. You know, the Cadiz program in Spain is amazing. There's a pilgrimage studies program in Spain that is also amazing. People study abroad in all kinds of interesting places, though. The one thing to remember, though, is that the US medical schools will not accept prerequisite courses taken abroad. So you might want to take courses at a French university. Well, don't take organic chemistry there because the US med schools won't take it. So, you know, go learn about France at the French university, because otherwise, why are you in France? There are some programs that have pre-med interest. So there's this really great program in Scandinavia called DIS, where students have gone and studied health policy. And the Scandinavian countries have really interesting health systems. And, you know, spending a semester in Copenhagen learning health policy is very cool, and also cold, but, you know, that's another piece of the story. So the Reeves Center on campus is the place to go learn about study abroad. And they typically have large group meetings first, and then you can go meet with a counselor and talk about the kinds of programs you'd be interested in.
Awesome. And again, just as a general statistic, over about, well, almost close to 60%, even sometimes a little bit over 60% of William and Mary students study abroad at least once before they graduate.
When it is possible, and we're not in a pandemic. You know, it's all been very sad for the last year, but again, those opportunities are going to open up as more people get vaccinated. So this summer, no, but summer after, maybe.
And hopefully we won't have to keep throwing in COVID disclaimers for too much longer.
Well, we've all lived through a year of it, and it's taught us resilience and adaptability, and I can come up with the silver linings here. And you'll be telling your grandkids about it too. So, but yeah, we're all going to be very glad when this is behind us.
Agreed. Some other questions. So we're getting a lot of questions, of course, about med school acceptances and those types of things. So maybe let's start with just kind of what schools are William and Mary students typically applying to or circulating to?
Sure.
And what those rates look like.
So what I'm going to do is talk about how students choose a medical school, because it's not just, oh, you know, X school took X% of our students. There's more to it. So the medical school that's most likely to take you is your in-state medical school, your in-state public. And in Virginia, we are wealthy. We have 4 of them. So you Virginia students, those 4 are going to be on your list, or at least 3 of them. For sure. So UVA, EVMS, VCU, and then Virginia Tech Carilions, smaller program that's kind of research focused, which is why I put it in its own little category. And if you look at the 3 programs that take the most of our students, it's EVMS, VCU, and UVA. Then it kind of, you know, spreads out. So the next tier down would be private schools anywhere, because they don't care where you're from. And William and Mary students with GPAs in the 3.6, 3.7 range, which is absolutely an achievable dream here, are well poised to apply to places like Georgetown and GW, to 3 of the 4 schools in Philadelphia. We have quite a few nice private schools up and down the East Coast. Fewer as you go west. Chicago's a place where some of my students apply because they have ties there. And then the bottom tier would be public schools in other states, because often what they want to do is educate their own residents. So some public schools in other states take a fair number from out of state. So University of Maryland, for example, likes William and Mary students, and we send non-Marylanders to the University of Maryland nearly every year. Others, the UC system in California is very unlikely to take you if you're not from California. If you are from California, our placement rate's pretty good. You know, again, 3.5 from William and Mary is what I think of as a comfortable GPA for in-state public schools. It's a comfortable starting GPA. Even UVA will look at my students at a 3.5 if they're from Virginia. I can't guarantee anything. My crystal ball is not good, but I think of that as kind of a solid place to be. By the time you get to a 3.9, we're talking about the Ivies. Okay, so if you have a 3.9 and commensurate MCAT scores, and you know, you've done good things here at William and Mary, you've done research, you've done, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, the Ivies absolutely look at you. So more complicated than what percentage of William and Mary students get in, but of course, you know, it's complicated. The other thing I always say when it's time to talk about statistics is that population statistics say nothing about what's going to happen to an individual student. Okay, admissions is holistic. They really do look at you as an individual. And B, so much is going to depend on what you do with your time here, right? I think Alondra and Spencer have exemplified some of the great things you can do outside of class. So you're going to want to be a good student. You're going to want to pick up clinical experience and get involved. You know, both Alondra and Spencer have been involved in leadership in significant ways. And we can talk about all of the things that make you a competitive med student. So if you're interested in the numbers I release, they're actually in that letter to perspectives on my website. So go take a look.
And actually, that leads to another question asking about the early assurance types of programs and our
I can talk
relationship
about
with
those
those
too.
programs.
So we have 2 early assurance programs. Both are with Virginia schools. So we have one with VCU. They take 2 students a year. Minimum GPA for that program is a 3.5 from William and Mary, and students apply in the spring of sophomore year. And I'm in the process of putting those applications together. I think we're going to have somewhere around 25 applications this year. So, you know, on the selective side. We also have a program with Eastern Virginia Medical School, which we've had since about 1980. And typically they interview on the order of 15 people, and typically, but you know, nothing's typical, right? They've taken 8 to 10. So slightly better odds with EVMS, and you know, on the order of 30 applications a year, most years. And again, minimum GPA is a 3.5. EVMS is very interested in clinical experience. So is VCU. So one of the things you can do to increase your chances of getting in through one of those early assurance programs is get involved with clinical stuff early. I mean, if you got trained as an EMT this summer before you even started at William and Mary, and then used that training, that might be a good choice. And it'll make for an interesting summer too. Should mention, it is easier to get into medical school through the regular process than through the early assurance programs. So if you aren't accepted through an early assurance program, it doesn't mean you're not going to go to medical school. It just means that you're going to apply through the regular process.
A very positive and helpful thing to keep in mind. So I think that's most of the questions related to medical school. We're going to switch gears a little bit one more time, and we're getting a lot of questions about pre-vet opportunities. And what those courses might look like and how that overlaps a little bit with pre-med at all.
Yeah, so pre-vet is a small group of students. I think there may be 30 on campus at any one time. And the things that matter for pre-vet are prerequisite courses, and they overlap remarkably with the pre-med courses. There's actually a pre-vet handout in that handout section on my website, so you might want to go take a look at that. In addition, students need animal experience. And they also need experience with a veterinarian. And the numbers that stick in my head, maybe 125 hours with a veterinarian and as much animal experience as you can get. It's not unusual for students to have on the order of 500 hours of that. Not that it's necessarily required either. So animal experience could be working, you know, at a kennel, or exercising the horses, or volunteering at the animal shelter. And veterinary experience is time with the vet. There are vets in Williamsburg that our students have worked with. The pre-vet club passes around information about part-time jobs at veterinary offices. And a lot of my students actually work with veterinarians at home over the summer. So it's not unusual for a pre-vet student to come in with significant amounts of vet experience, even as a freshman. But the whole point is to explore the field and figure out what it is you want to do. And that's really the point of clinical experience in general. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into.
Try every different hat on, right?
Well, why not? You know, don't buy the first thing you see.
I'm actually gonna turn it back over to the students, and I think this one is specifically for you, Spencer. What does a scribe do in their day-to-day work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So scribe basically just takes the doctor's notes. So it really depends on who you work with to determine what part of the note you're doing. But every doctor's going to have you do a history. So basically you go in, we have what we call cows, computer on wheels. We wheel into the room right behind them. And we basically, doctors is talking with the patient and you just organize a history. For Sentara, we train for about 2 months. There's like a 2-month training period. and you learn to take history during that time. So you kind of learn what's important and kind of what's like the most important things in there. That's kind of what to emphasize in the note. It's basically just history, just kind of depending on the patient, can be long or short, but generally about a paragraph. You have to type fast. So if you're interested in being a scribe, practice early, because when I was doing it, I was a little slower on the typing side. So I was sitting there just looking at things online and just trying to learn to type as fast as I could. But I got it. I think everybody who enters the program always passes. But yeah, another things you can do is you can, another thing, some doctors have you type their assessment and physical exam findings. But scribing in general is more for the experience. You see so many different types of cases. A lot of heart attacks and strokes. You see, a lot of laceration repairs, minor breaking bones and stuff. But you see, it's like a lot of medical mysteries. What I love during that job is you have access to see all the imaging, all the lab results, so you can actually start kind of thinking like what it may be and everything. So it makes it really exciting. So if you're interested in being a physician, being a scribe is a great position. I'd highly recommend it.
And you're in the emergency department, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the ER, and that's where people who scribe for Sentara scribe in the ER, and then there's also Riverside. They're also the ER.
And it's actually also possible to be a volunteer scribe at the Lackey Free Clinic. So students apply during their sophomore year and commit to 2 years at the clinic. And that's a really interesting place to scribe too, because you're working with volunteer physicians and you're seeing folks who are coming in for care because they don't have a primary care doc because they're not insured. So it's a different side of medicine. I've had students who volunteered both at Lackey and scribed at Riverside, and they've said they see the same people. And it's been really eye-opening to know what they're like when they're not acutely ill. So, you can see different phases of things depending on where you are.
Awesome. And actually, I think Alondra, this is going to be your question. Excuse me, if I can talk correctly. So specifically from your kind of neuroscience background, what would you say about pre-meds who are interested in being either a psychologist or a psychiatrist or going down that route?
Right. So first, the difference between psychologists and a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist can prescribe medicine to you, things like, antidepressants, stuff like that. A psychologist is more so a kind of a really big term. You could put research under psychologist, you could put therapy under psychologist. You could have, of course, the therapist who prescribes medicine, which is, again, a psychiatrist. That is a doctor who is prescribing medicine. And so I believe that some of these, med schools, they'll have like specific concentrations, right, where you can go into something.
No.
Am I wrong?
No,
Yeah.
no, you don't specialize in medical school.
Okay. I
Okay.
was confused because I
Yeah.
was under the impression.
So
I'm just gonna let you
two
talk.
two different training paths, right? So if you're going to be a psychiatrist, you have to go to medical school.
Yep.
And so you're going to go through med school and do the standard 4 years. And the first 3 years, basically, you have no electives. In your 4th year, sometimes you have an elective or 2. And it could be in a place where you're thinking about being a resident, or if you were really interested in some aspect of psychiatry, you might go off and do that for a month. You can kind of set this up with your med school. And then you go off and do a residency in psychiatry. Okay, so residency is where you specialize. If you're talking about being a psychologist, you're basically going to go to graduate school, so not medical school. You might get a master's in counseling or, a degree in, clinical psychology. Okay, so very different paths actually. And if you're interested in the clinical psychology kinds of things, there are professors in the psych department who know a lot about that training path. And I always send my students to them because they're really different in terms of training. And I think they're also different in terms of what you do with patients. I think psychiatrists have the reputation of being very quick to prescribe, and they do have that tool in their toolkit. And often psychiatrists and clinical psychologists work together. So if a patient needs a prescription, they're going to get it. And often that works very well. So think about which side of it you want.
Thank you. So the next question is about pharmacy related disciplines, or
Sure.
a lot of overlap between pharmacy and med school with regards to the prerequisites, or is
Yes.
it
So, the reason I advise for these core things is that the courses are very, very similar for these four things. So the pre-pharmacy courses are very close to the pre-med courses. And often students, Spencer thought he was going to be a pharmacy person at the beginning, but you end up thinking about what you want to do with your time after you graduate. So there's a pre-pharmacy handout on my website that lists the prerequisites. And in terms of clinical experience for pre-pharmacy, what the VCU School of Pharmacy tells us is that they want students to get themselves certified as pharmacy technicians and then go get a part-time job, because you want to see what you're getting yourself into. So they want to see a record of employment, actually. Some of my students have actually been pharmacy technicians at the free clinics and been unpaid, and that's been fine too.
Thank you. Kind of turning it back over to the students one more time. What are some resources and tips beyond just the coursework that have helped you really prepare for med school or prepare for the MCAT or some of those tests? What are some of those tips and tricks that you've utilized throughout your time at William & Mary?
So I can speak just kind of for studying in general, or is it more a studying question, or is it more, I'm a little confused in the question.
I would say specifically more about kind of MCAT and those kind of graduate or medical school tests. Maybe
Okay.
you prepare for those.
Yeah, so I actually took the MCAT last June. So it's a very, very typical test, but William & Mary definitely prepares you well for it. What I did, I studied about, everybody has different study plans. People study a year, some people study like 2 months. For me, I studied about 6 months. I used the Exam Cracker book, but there's also Princeton Review, CAP, and there's a lot of them.
AAMC, don't forget the AAMC.
Yes, and then I was going to get that. AMC they have a lot of practice exams, or they have a lot of practice material, especially a couple of full-length practice exams. And just I think practice questions and exams the best way you got to go. Exam Crackers had some good practice questions that helped and had good decent content review. But what helped me the most was that the practice questions, and that's with anything, just any sort of tests or I think it's just I feel, at least for me, but it's practice in general.
It's actually supported by research on teaching and learning. It's practice and testing yourself and practice some more. Should mention that we have a MCAT panel every year for Health Careers Club, and I pick people who did well on the exam, and they come and answer questions like we're doing now. So that's an October feature.
I also wanted to mention kind of a shameless plug here for MIMS. We have a MCAT library that's available for our due paying members, so they get access to some of these books that you're talking about. And then also we are it's MAPS and it's run by SNMA. So that's a lot of acronyms. So it's the Student National Medical Association. We are a chapter of the Minority Association for Pre-Med Students. So we get access to things like off-campus seminars and conferences for students, and we get to take them there. And one of them that they have is called Acing the MCAT, and that is another seminar that's run I think at EVMS, if I'm not mistaken. So we get to take students there. We didn't get to take students, unfortunately, COVID and all. But we're looking forward to being able to do those like off-campus events and taking students to things like EVMS and doing tours and stuff like that again. So that's another resource that we offer personally. And there's, like I said, like everyone mentioned, there's plenty of resources that you can find just by talking to, Dr. Scher, talking to someone in Health Careers Club, talking to someone in MIMS. And that's a really good way to start.
Yeah, people hand knowledge down to the next generation and prep materials, it sounds like. Good.
Awesome. So I think this is going to be a all-encompassing type of question, but what ways can pre-meds stand out to medical schools or appear as competitive as possible throughout their time in undergraduate?
So the standout question is one that is tricky. There are a very large number of applicants every year, and the med schools can take on the order of 40% of them. And there's no way to be a standout, I guess, because, what you learn is that no matter how good you are at one thing, there might be someone who's better. So what I'm going to say is be yourself. Do things because you care about them. go volunteer at that free clinic because you love it, or go get certified as a medical translator because your Spanish is really good and you want to give back. Go run the safe ride service on campus because it's important to you, and it's also community service, which the med schools care about. Be your authentic self. I think we worry a lot in this, age of Instagram of being perfect, and it's impossible. And it's an unreasonable standard, and it just makes people tense. So choose the major that matters the most to you. Do something you care about. Make a difference on campus, but do it your way. Go join a research lab, but make it the one that you're interested in, not necessarily the one that you think the med schools will like. Because the great thing is that if you build a resume that exemplifies your values, and that shows who you really are, then when you interview in med school, the person they expect to see is going to walk through the door. And I hear that that's really valued. So you have the freedom to be yourself. Be your best, most professional self, okay? But, do it because you care about it, because it'll come through. The right answer to the question, why did you take that 400 level Spanish literature course, is because I thought it was so cool. Okay, that passion will come through. That's my
I
best
wanted to
advice.
say something just to echo a little bit about being genuine. I remember, I think when I was a freshman, this question was posed, and I'm not sure what panel. I've been to so many panels at this point, but I
Yeah,
remember,
right.
I remember one of the big things is, like they might ask you, why do you want to be a doctor? And that answer of, well, I care about people. I want to take care about people. Like it's so vague and so
if
overdone. But
But
if you
if you
can, yeah,
don't want to take care of people, I don't want you taking care of me.
yeah.
Right.
Um,
So they say it's a cliche to say I want to help people. No. If you want to help people, say so. But you want to show that through what you do at William and Mary. Okay. You want to volunteer at the free clinic. You want to help that little kid with his math facts at the local elementary school. Again, be the change you want to see, because that'll show up on your resume too. So I don't laugh at people when they say I want to help people. I think, good. Speaking as a patient, that actually makes me happy. So it's complicated, right? But I'm going to encourage you to be yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'll add on. Even if it's not medically related, just joining something that you really and generally enjoy, which could be anything, a club sport, any like an activism group. Just if you really want to join it. It's gonna it's actually gonna help you probably the most during interviews, because you'll be able to talk about it and really show your passion. And that it's kind of hard to stand out, but that would really give you a better.
Make it be you. I had this student who long ago was really interested in a particular kind of Japanese pottery. And he actually put that on his AMCAS application as one of his experiences. And when he interviewed at one of the medical schools, they paired him up with a doctor who was interested in that kind of pottery. And they had a fabulous conversation. And he thinks it helped get him into that medical school. But it was something he had been passionate about forever. So be yourself.
Awesome. And actually, I think a great kind of final question for our students. What's maybe one or two things outside of pre-med, outside of official classes that have really helped make a positive impact on your William and Mary experience?
So this was a kind of a hard decision for me to make, but I got invested into esports. We now have an esports program on campus. I am a player for an esports team, and that is completely just, I play video games and then I do pre-med things. Like they're two completely separate things. But it's a passion for me. It's a big thing. And I think that's what Dr. Scher is talking about. If I can talk about why it means so much to me to be on this team and, say it eloquently to someone, they're going to pick up on that passion and it's going to be a boost for me. So it's always, it's also really great to sometimes just get away from, the hustle and bustle of pre-med and just go do something that you enjoy and you love. And, that shows.
I'm gonna say for me, it's actually, I found it through Dr. Scher's listserv, but it's actually not through William & Mary. It's a camp called Victory Junction. It's a camp for children with chronic illnesses. And I was a camp counselor there for a summer. It was awesome. One of the best experiences I had. It was so fun. When I had medical school interviews, I talked about it so much. I had a great time there. It was, definitely clearly my favorite thing I've done in college.
Thank you both so much for sharing. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. That went super fast. Thank you to all of our panelists for volunteering your time and for helping us all out. I know I learned a lot. Hopefully our students did too. I'm actually going to put one link down into that chat box. So this is the one time I'm going to tell you to look at the chat. And that's the link to your Activate and Deposit page, so that if you're ready, if you've decided William & Mary is where you want to call home for the next 4 years, please follow that link. That'll take you to your portal page and your deposit page. And you're more than welcome to kind of get the William & Mary process started. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. If you missed part of the session, if you accidentally went to the restroom or something, don't worry about it. It is recorded. So we have it available on your welcome page. So again, in your applicant portal, just check there. Give us a couple of days to make sure everything went recorded smoothly, and we'll have it up and ready for you. But with that being said, please check out the rest of our admitted student programming and give a virtual round of applause to our wonderful panelists. And with that, I will say thank you. Have a great evening. Have a great rest of your week. And we hope to see you on campus very soon. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.